Good morning, Lisa Moore here from Fit for More. I wanted to come in and to talk about a very well-used phrase, and I hear it a lot, and I sometimes find myself saying it, and my children say it to me as well. And it's funny because I went out for a walk this morning with a good friend of mine. And we were chatting and we were doing a bit of coaching, and then we bumped into another couple of ladies, and we were having the same conversation. And this phrase came up a few times. It's like, he makes me feel, or she makes me feel. And it's a phrase that we use it's a thing that we do when we blame somebody else. It's their fault, they made me feel angry. The truth of the matter is, they didn't make you feel anybody. Nobody can make you feel anything. And I say this to my children all the time. They hate it when I do, because they just go, but you're making me feel so cross. The thing is, we choose how we want to feel. But it's having that presence of mind to be able to recognise our natural instinct to something that happens. And that natural instinct might be to feel angry or pissed off or annoyed or fed up or whatever it might be. But until you are able to take yourself back a step and go, whoa, hang on a minute, I'm reacting like this in a particular way, then you're allowing something to take over you. You can choose how you want to feel about something. And it was interesting because I was in a Toastmasters meeting last night, and one of the subjects that came up when we were doing our table topics, our impromptu speaking, was about the law of polarity. So the law of polarity is basically that everything has an equal and opposite. It's the yin and the yang, it's the black and the white, it's the north and the south. There is always an opposite. So there is always a positive to a negative. And what was really interesting was the girl that was running the table topic session was asking us to find the positive in a negative situation. So for example, she talked about your car didn't start this morning, so you couldn't get to work. So what's the negative? That's a negative, isn't it? It's like, oh my God, I'm stressed, the car didn't go, blah, blah, blah. But what could be the positive to that? Well, the positive could be that because of the fact that your car didn't work, you ended up deciding you just had to take the day off. And so that allowed you to have some time for you to actually do some jobs that you've been putting off for ages. Or maybe you took the opportunity to go out for a walk. Or maybe you discovered that actually, and I know this is a bit difficult at the moment because of the world we're living in, but maybe it just proved that you can do your job just as well from home as you could in the office. So that was just one example. The question that I got asked was that, my negative situation was the fact that I have £5 in my pocket and that's it. It's all the money that I have in the world. Well, what's the positive for that? Quite a difficult one, really, when you think about it. But actually, in reality, there have been times where I've got almost down to my last pound, and I've panicked and thought, oh my God, I'm not going to have any money. How am I going to do this? How am I going to do that? But the thing is, what it makes you realise is there is always more. There is always more. And I don't think I've ever been in a situation where I've got to the point where there is nothing. And I did a post on this a while ago. I read The Salt Path recently. And the story about this couple in their 50s that they lose everything. Yeah, lovely to see you too, Gemma. Seeing, they lost everything. They lost the home, they lost everything. They had nothing. And they ended up living in a tent, walking the southwest coast path. And, they literally were down to eating packets of noodles when they hadn't got any money. But there was always a positive to what happened to them. They met some amazing people. They experienced nature in its purest form, had some amazing experience, fell deeper in love with each other, connected, and did some amazing things. So there is always a positive. And I think my answer to the question last night was, if I had that £5, you know, that on one hand I could go, okay, so I've got £5. How can I make that £5 into £10? How can I make that £10 into £20? How can I make that £20 into £100? So that's one way of looking at it. It's like getting that creative energy going. Or actually, the other thing is, give that money away. Give that money away to charity, to somebody that needs it, and feel that sense of, just that wonderful sense of giving, and knowing that when you give, you always get back. That's the law of polarity. You know, so if you give, you will get. So if you give, you receive. You know, if it's wet today and it's raining, then it'll be sunny again tomorrow. You know, there is always the positive and the negative. And sometimes it's about taking that time to see what it is. So going back to that phrase of, they made me feel angry, or you make me really cross. Actually, you can choose how to be. And can you see maybe that there is a positive aspect in how, you know, they're making you feel angry. How can you turn it around and look at it and see how that situation could possibly make you feel happy? It is possible to do it. And we can find ourselves getting so wound up and so worked up, and we're blaming it on the other person. It's all that person. But you know what? If you let it go and actually turn it around the other way, and maybe look at it through a loving mindset, you will find life will be easier to deal with and easier to cope with. So they were just my thoughts from today, because it is, you know, we're out for a good couple of hours having a really good walk, putting the world to rights and discussing things and looking at it. And it is hard. We can get ourselves wound up in these balls of frustration and anger. And actually, when we take a step back and look at what we're being given, my friend, this morning we were talking about one thing, and I know she won't mind me sharing this. Then she'd been out for this fabulous walk on Friday, and she'd really enjoyed herself and what have you. And then she got stung, and was in quite a lot of pain. And it's like, well, so how could you see that as a positive? And she's like, how can I see that as a positive? But when we talked about it, actually, it was almost like this thing, this horsefly, whatever it was that came to sting her on the arm, was giving her this message to go, do you know what? Even when shit happens, you can get over it. Even when it's painful, you carry on. It was showing her strength, showing her you know, her ability to overcome bad situations and to get through the pain. You know, maybe that was the positive aspect. You know, you might think that is completely crazy. You're very welcome to think that's completely crazy, but sometimes you can look at things in a different way, and it will make you feel very different to how you're feeling right now. So next time you hear yourself use those words, you know, maybe you're actually having a conversation with somebody and you point your finger and go, you're making me really angry. It's like, you're making yourself really angry. It's nothing to do with them. What they've said to you, you've decided you're going to feel angry about. Take a step back. How can you look at it in a different way? Or how, you know, is it possible to see their reaction that is triggering you? Is there something that you can do to actually help them? Because maybe they're getting their frustrations out, and actually what they really need is they need a hug, or they need a cuddle, or they need a cup of tea, or they need you to listen to them. But what they're saying is triggering you to feel angry. But actually, if you took a step back and thought, why is it they're being like this? Is it that they need something from me, or is there something that I can give to them to make them feel better? So if they're giving you these messages that and it's triggering you, it's making you feel angry, it's making you feel guilty, perhaps have a think about, where are they coming from right now, and how can you look at it differently? That's it. That's my thoughts of the week. I'd love to know your thoughts and your views on that. And I'll be back again, I'm sure, next week. Take care.